It's near dusk at the United Nations Refugee Screening Centre at Karkavita, eastern Nepal. Another day, another family has arrived.
हामीलाई बहुत दुःख लाग्दैछ किनभने हाम्रो यो निस्केको कारणमा चाहिँ हामीलाई कसरी निस्क्यौं कसरी खेदायो हामीलाई अहिले सेन्समा पनि छैन भविष्यमा मेरो चाहिँ अब लाइफ बितेको अब लाइफलाई म अब जति पनि गएको मेरो छोराछोरीको लागि चाहिँ म लाइफ या त बनाउन सक्छु कि भन्ने मात्रै एउटा प्रब्लम छ त्यति हो
Just before nightfall, some new arrivals, a husband and wife carrying their baby son and all they possess.
When exactly did you leave Bhutan?
Inside its cement and thatch compound, the United Nations determines their fate.
Why did you leave Bhutan actually in the afternoon?
I wanted to leave my country, but if I stayed back, they would have set fire in the house, locking me inside, my family. So I got scared, so I had to leave the very next day.
By nightfall, their fate is sealed. Refugee status granted. They begin the final leg of their unwanted journey to a strange new home. This is the Timai refugee camp in eastern Nepal. It's one of 8 camps in this area that are now home to 85,000 refugees. They've come here over the past 4 years from the neighbouring kingdom of Bhutan. They're the victims of one of the most intense campaigns of ethnic persecution in the world. Mangala Sharma and her family have lived here for the past 2 years, since they were evicted from the country which had been their home for 5 generations.
My daughter is the 5th generation born in Bhutan. Like my great-grandmother was born in Bhutan, then my grandmother who is in front of me, she was born in Bhutan, then my mother, then myself and my daughter. I brought her when she was 1 month old. Now all of us, we are living in Timai refugee camp.
The camps of eastern Nepal are now home to 1 in 7 of the population of the tiny Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan. 100,000 people have been forced out or have fled their country in fear.
Worst time was beginning of 1992 to mid of August, when 10,000 people per month were coming, and there were trucks and trucks of people coming from Bhutan. They were evicted.
Mangala and the others here are southern Bhutanese, Nepalese-speaking citizens of Bhutan. They're the victims of what appears to be a deliberate campaign by the Bhutanese government to wipe out its ethnic Nepalese community, which makes up almost half the country's population.
5 years ago, Bhutan was like a paradise for all of us, and everything was fine there. But say about 3 years from now, I don't know what happened. Bhutan government started evicting people. And
it began, Mangala says, with a census, which the government claimed was to identify illegal immigrants. But when they began evicting Bhutanese citizens, there was strong and sometimes violent opposition. It was then the authorities unleashed a campaign of terror against the ethnic Nepalese.
People were taken into custody, they were threatened, raped, young girls were raped, and many young boys were forced into forced labor. All the schools were closed, and all the schools were turned into local prisons, and hospitals were banned for the local people.
Like many men, Mangala's brother, formerly a village leader, tells of being imprisoned, beaten and tortured.
यता पनि थिच्छ यता पनि थिच्छ दुईटा काठले यसरी कडप्प च्यापेर लु भन्नुहुन्छ अब उसले नभएको कुरो हो भन्न लाउँछ होइन भन्दा झन् साह्रो च्याप्छ अनि त्यसरी गरेर दिनैले 7 महिनासम्म त्यहाँ मलाई त्यस्तो दुःख दिएर राख्यो र
Eventually he was freed, but only after his family and their entire village signed what the authorities called voluntary leaving certificates, stating that they would permanently leave Bhutan.
सबै आए छैन जुम्मै आए छैन हाम्रो गाउँमा त्यसै गरी नि यो घर खेदो अर्को घर खेदो अर्को घर खेदो कोही बासै बस्न पाएन घरमा सुत्ने पाएन बनबनै सुते भिर सुते खोलामा सुते पाखै सुते लोग्ने मान्छे जति दिन त्यसो गरे आइ नै केटाकेटी डरले आउँछ राति आउँछ दैलो उगार्छ अनि के गर्नु हाम्रो घर लडायो छैन अब मान्छेको सबैको लडायो नि अलि ठुल्ठुलो घर चाहिँ सबैको लडायो धन सम्पत्ति सबै लगो खुडीबुडी जुम्मै टाकटुकै लगो गाई बस्तु सबै यत्तिकै हिँडेका हामी यत्तिकै आँखा नदेख्दा राति भागेका लौरो टेक्दै कुद्या यो छैन केही पनि भएको छैन.
The story of Mangala Sharma's family is typical of the stories told by the 85,000 refugees. Everyone has harrowing tales to tell, but none of them can tell you why they're here, why they were forced out of Bhutan. And so we travelled to the remote and isolated mountain kingdom to try to find out why. It's a journey that few people make. Bhutan is one of the most closed countries in the world. The brochures call it the last Shangri-La, but tourism is not encouraged. Fewer than 3,000 tourists visit each year. The government keeps them out by charging $300 a day. Journalists aren't encouraged either. TV crews are charged a minimum of $12,000, which ensures most stay away. We went as tourists instead and filmed with a tourist video camera. Like all tourists, we were met on arrival by an official guide who would accompany us everywhere we went. Well, they're certainly right about Bhutan being blissfully untouched by the rest of the world. It's like being in a different time. The tour brochures say it's the mighty Himalayas that have kept Bhutan protected from the outside. But the government has played a major role too. It was only in the 1960s that roads and communications links with Bhutan's neighbours were opened up. Television and satellite dishes are still banned. In the government's own words, Bhutan has chosen to remain deeply shrouded in its jealously guarded isolation. The Bhutanese capital Thimphu, population 20,000, is as bustling as it gets. It's from here that the King of Bhutan rules his subjects, and the royal government pursues its policies of sovereignty, self-reliance and cultural preservation, our guide explained.
Modernization. We don't want westernization, we just want modernization.
Not westernisation?
Yeah.
So how
usually all the developing countries, as they get modernized, they become westernized. So our government is trying to check that.
How is the government protecting the culture of Bhutan?
First of all, they have this rule of the language, Dzongkha language. It is compulsory in schools.
So the language of the ruling ethnic group is actually compulsory?
Yeah. Secondly, the dress. You have to wear this.
So this is compulsory?
Compulsory. When you're in town, at home you can, it's okay, it's up to you. But once you step out of the house, it's compulsory. If you are a Bhutanese, you have to wear this clothes. You have to wear this dress.
To a foreign eye, the compulsory wearing of the national dress seems just a part of Bhutan's charm. Like the colourful mountain festivals, where the people turn out in their finery to celebrate an ancient Buddhist culture. Cultural preservation is the government's catchphrase. But what it's preserving is the culture of a small ruling elite, the Drukpa people, descendants of Tibetans who've ruled Bhutan for 300 years. What does the government think are the dangers to the culture? Why do they have to try so hard to preserve it?
They think that if they don't put any restrictions, then the people will not discard their traditional clothes and wear Western clothes, and slowly, you know, it will just become a museum piece.
So does the government encourage festivals like this?
Yes, it's going. You see the dresses they're wearing,
Yeah.
the white clothes they're wearing. All these are provided by the government.
They're provided by the government.
And the government also provides separate funds for these kind of festivals.
But the truth is, preserving the culture has become a euphemism for staying in power. The ruling Drukpas make up only 20% of the population. The Nepalese-speaking southern Bhutanese, on the other hand, make up almost half, and their numbers are growing. The rest are the native Bhutanese. The government's greatest fear is not westernisation, but losing its stranglehold on power. And so, in the name of preserving the culture, the king and his government launched a campaign to cleanse Bhutan. They called the policy One Nation, One People. A draconian system of ethnic classification was introduced. Tens of thousands of citizens of Nepalese descent were stripped of their citizenship. Many of them came from families who'd been in Bhutan for generations. In the crackdown that followed, 100,000 people fled the country. Most are still living in the refugee camps across the border in Nepal. The Nepalese-speaking community in Bhutan, which still makes up 40% of the population, now lives in an atmosphere of fear. The 200,000 ethnic Nepalese in Bhutan no longer dare celebrate their culture. Their language is now banned, their religion, Hindu, forced behind closed doors. We managed to lose our guide for long enough to go in search of a Nepalese speaker game to talk. Those still in Bhutan fear that any wrong step will have them too thrown out of the country. This man agreed to be interviewed only on the condition that we totally disguise his identity.
My family was stripped of their citizenship, and they had to move out of Bhutan. They just had to go, because they received a lot of threatening from the police and even the village head. You know, he was telling my parents to move as soon as possible. So they had to go.
What's it like here for the Nepalese-speaking community still in Bhutan?
Well, it's very difficult. Very difficult.
Nepalese-speaking Bhutanese now need a special certificate from the government to get a job, to get training, or even to enrol their children in school. All designed, it seems, to force those remaining to leave.
We are afraid, of course, because we might end up behind bars anytime. Nobody's happy. Everyone is staying here only because, you know, they have been there, they were born here, they were brought up here. Once we just go out of the country, means you lose everything. You lose your citizenship, you lose your land will be seized, and you will be homeless, finally.
Mr. Prime Minister. Hello, Prime Minister. Glad to meet you.
Glad to meet you. Back in Nepal, it's clear that the refugee crisis has strained relations between the governments of Nepal and Bhutan. 3 rounds of talks have made virtually no progress toward finding a solution. Prime Minister, what is your government's view of Bhutan's policy of literally forcing out citizens of Nepalese descent?
Those Bhutanese refugees, most of them are Bhutanese nationals, and they are being evicted forcefully.
Do you find Bhutan's policy shocking?
It's of course shocking. As a matter of fact, I'm committed, my government is committed to human rights also. So on the ground of humanitarian ground, we have to look to the Bhutanese problem very sincerely.
So far there appears to have been really no progress toward solving this issue. Do you think the government of Bhutan is really genuine about finding a solution?
Because the progress is slow, the attitude, you can just conclude what is the attitude of the Bhutanese government. They don't want to solve it very quickly, so they want to just go very slow.
What solution does Nepal want to this problem?
I think that solution is very, very simple. Let us identify who are the Bhutanese citizens and who are not. Those Bhutanese citizens, they should be taken back to Bhutan. That should be the only solution of the problem.
Bhutan's unwanted citizens can only pray that one day their government will agree to take them home. For now, there doesn't seem much hope. Neither peaceful resistance nor a campaign of violent attacks by some dissident groups has shaken Bhutan's resolve. The campaign of evictions is still going on. The government of Bhutan justifies its policy by recalling the fate of its old neighbour, the former Kingdom of Sikkim. There, an uprising by a Nepalese majority led to Sikkim being taken over by India in 1975. Bhutan claims that it could meet a similar fate. And so the systematic removal of Bhutan's Nepalese-speaking community continues. At present, another census is being undertaken. People with relatives here in the refugee camps are being told that they too must leave Bhutan. Every day, new refugee families arrive.
They are giving thanks for everything, like food and what God has done for me.
Do you think the people here ever feel that the gods have forgotten them?
No, I don't think they feel, because they are very strong Hindu and they are very strong believers. When they are refugee, the culture and religion is more important, because you feel all alone and you feel like you have lost everything.
It's pure faith that keeps the people here believing that one day they'll return home. For Mangala's grandmother, it's her final wish.
खोइ अब भरिसके त जानु नि भनेको सकिन्छ नि भन्ने छ गएर आफ्नै जमिनमा बस्नु उही मर्नु भन्ने ध्यान छ